part of the Mgtow philosopher hero series. Today we're going to talk about David Hume, Scottish philosopher. Let's say he died in 1776. Think of American Revolution. He was a friend of Adam Smith, the economist, famous economist of the invisible hand of the free market idea, which is still with us. So who was David Hume, and why do I think he was Mgtow? Well, did he go his own way? Well, yes, he did. He went his own way in explicating a new philosophical approach, and that philosophical approach made him both friends and enemies. His main books, including a treatise on human nature, written when he was 27, and an expansion of that, an inquiry concerning human understanding, written when he was 37. These established him as a great thinker. I remember going through the inquiry concerning human understanding, and it was a great book. It really is great. Anyway, he made enemies with that. He made friends with that. What he ultimately said, just for a sideline here, is that we cannot ever see causation. And because we cannot see causation, we cannot predict events exactly. So we set a limit for science, and all science today. So his skepticism is a productive skepticism, which makes people think very hard, as opposed to, say, a Cartesian skepticism, where we just have to worry whether we're asleep or not, and hopefully we're not asleep and dreaming. This is reality. So he came from a good family, socially connected, but not really wealthy. His father died just when he was 2 years old and was raised by his mother, who apparently was a wonderful mother who looked after the kids really well. So part of his going his own way was he studied independently very hard. He went to university as well, got out and then studied very hard for 10 years and made himself sick with mental stress, worrying about things, trying to break out of the bubble he was, the bubble of intellectual thought that existed all around him at the time. But he persevered and broke out, and at the time, previous to 1776, he became famous. Not only did he break out of the bubble, but he pulled other people out as well. Famously, Immanuel Kant, the great modern philosopher, said that reading Hume woke him up from his dogmatic slumbers, and he went on to write his great work, The Critique of Pure Reason. And Jeremy Bentham also remarked that reading Hume caused the scales to fall from his eyes. So we can see from these great testimonials from Immanuel Kant and Jeremy Bentham that indeed David Hume went his own way. He created his own philosophy. It should be noted he never married, never did the normal thing, although later in life he became a chargé d'affaires in Paris and was obviously a hit in the salon uh, culture of Paris at the time, and he was recognized as a brilliant man. So let's take a look at a few of his quotes. We'll start here with be a philosopher, but amid all your philosophy, be still a man. And of course, he's thinking about being a man. One thing he notices about men is that men often act knowingly against their interest. And this is a problem today, although it was less of a problem back then. Men will surrender themselves to doing bad things. In fact, David Hume himself made himself sick with his studies, so he knows about that. He also recognizes that humans and men have desires such as avarice or the desire for gain, and we should watch out for that. It can take us over. One thing that tells us that he's quite wise is that he noticed that it's very easy for few to govern many, and this is a problem because men are being governed by just a few, and we don't know who the few are, but they're governing us, and they're putting men down, taking their power away. And their last step was, of course, to weaponize women as the final insult. One thing that comes out of his philosophy is that he noticed that reason cannot control the emotions, and that ultimately, whether you like something or whether you don't like something, doesn't depend upon reason. So there's no reason to love this woman. There's no reason to like that painting. You just do, and you can't help yourself. But what he did say is once you recognize that you like something or love something, then it becomes rational to whatever you do to get your goal. But that goal in itself is not rational. The next series of quotes that morals excite passions and produce or prevent actions. Reason of itself is utterly impotent in this particular. The rules of morality, therefore, are not conclusions of our reason. Morality is governed by emotions. Here's a nice one. To hate, to love, to think, to feel, to see. All this is nothing but to perceive. Beauty in things exists in the mind which contemplates them. So I think that's like beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. This one's a little strange. 'Tis not contrary to reason to prefer the destruction of the whole world to the scratching of my finger. And this is that your desires are not reasonable. You may desire something horrible, like the destruction of the world, over the scratching of your finger. But that's not reasonable. But it doesn't matter, because that's just what you desire. Reason is and ought only to be the slave of the passions, and can never pretend to any other office than to serve and obey them. Choose your passions well. Hold on, you can't choose them. They just come. So we'll end with a final view on David Hume's life. David Hume was a man going his own way. At one point he had to write a letter to the University of Edinburgh to defend himself against charges of being an atheist and a skeptic. Well, he definitely was a skeptic and probably was an atheist. And finally, he's known as the great infidel, and upon his deathbed, he refused to submit to the unreasonable requirement that he do confession before he died. So he died an atheist, as far as I know. And we'll end with this one. A wise man proportions his beliefs to the evidence. So be careful out there, men. What you believe and what you see may be very different things.